Chevy, can you
Yo.
believe it? They finally gave us a live show, and it came right down to the wire, getting us all set up onto the network so that we can actually broadcast out to everybody. 2 Canadian guys getting their own show on an American network, talking, I don't know, CFL, Canadian football, poutine, Canadian liberal politics. We can talk about whatever we want. This could go one of 2 ways. What do you think?
Sheldon, it's going up or it's going down. Judging by how we got live right on the wire, I don't know what tonight's going to look like, but that is par for the course with us. Welcome to the ride with Chevy and Nasty.
All right, welcome everybody. Just a bit of quick housekeeping here. This first segment is brought to us by our friends at Dream Reach Achieve. Serious about your business, gets you and your team to a peak performance state with Dream Reach Achieve. Chevy.
Sheldon, you know what? It's really good to be back. I tell you what, I just appeared on the AC show. AC is one of the partners here on the NGBN TV network. He's the show that precedes us on Tuesday nights live. He's in California. Listeners joining us from his show in LA, in Atlanta, but they don't know that it is cold up here. Sheldon, I was just out at my son's football game tonight. The bleachers were covered in snow. The field was covered in snow. Junior varsity high school football in Canada at its best. People don't know about this snow. It's nuts. And you know, par for the course for being the only 2 Canadians on this network. You know, but still very excited as I'm trying to keep warm and thaw out from that game.
Well, yeah, actually, I was coaching Pee Wee football tonight. 6 inches of snow. They were tobogganing down a hill. Snow Angels. We ended up just playing a bunch of 7-on-7 football. But yeah, Chev, definitely exciting to be here, to be back on the air. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where we come from, where you're going, and where you've been?
Well, listen, you know, again, same as you, excited, but you know, I'm not a professional radio host. I've done it in the past with you. We had a show here on Calgary, sports radio, but you know, I'm a former professional football player. I played in the NFL and CFL. I had a 16-year career. I went to college in Canada, McGill University. Well, that's a nice picture of you, but still, I'll come up soon. But yeah, I went to McGill University, played, you know, in the NFL, was drafted. One of the first Canadians drafted out of Canadian University. Spent most of my career here in Calgary, Alberta, for the people listening down south that don't know where it is. And played with you here. Had an awesome time, retired in 2016. And then I joined the Calgary Fire Department. I'm a community safety officer in the fire department and trying to kick this thing off with you. Yeah. What about you, Sheldon? A little bit of background.
Well, for me, I'm just a small town, northern Saskatchewan farm boy. And for those of you that don't know where that is, that's about 8 hours north of Bismarck, North Dakota is where you'd find my upbringing. But for me, I went the American route. I went down to the Iowa State University. It was a cyclone for 4 years. But came back up here, played in Canada for about 8 years with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, some time the Calgary Stampeders, where I met you. And now, yeah, I'm just settled nicely into Calgary, Alberta here. I'm a photographer, and just like doing creative stuff. And this seemed like a great idea to get back on the air and have some fun. Geez, Chev, we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah, and listen, we'll talk more about football stories. That's what this show is about. A little bit about you know, our careers on other times, but today we're going to talk about how we got on the air. And I think it was way back in 2005. You and I, roommates on the road with the Calgary Stampeders, both playing the same position, defensive tackles. And interestingly enough, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, which is our national broadcast corporation up here, was used to air the CFL games. And we were in a hotel room the night before a game watching, I believe we were in Edmonton, but we were watching Winnipeg and Montreal or something. But there was a talent strike. So they were showing the games on TV, but there was no commentators. All the talent was on strike. And so we were watching the game in mute. And I just remember you were laying on the bed in your underwear, and I was in my underwear because that's what you do before you go to bed. And
you remember,
I remember I grabbed the banana. You remember I grabbed the banana and I started doing the play-by-play?
Yeah, I remember that. You threw me the banana. Yeah, I wouldn't play long. Nasty, do it.
I needed a color guy. Yeah, I needed a color guy. You know, I needed a color guy to get through the broadcast, but I thought that was pretty funny, and we had a good time with that. And then we got on I guess we got on an afternoon football drive. Remember, it was Football Fridays with our good buddy Rob Kerr. Yeah. Yeah, I remember we did a segment with him. We talked a little bit of CFL. We were playing the Ottawa Renegades. The team doesn't even exist anymore. But at the time, the Ottawa team was the Renegades. Now they're the Red Blacks. But we're playing the Renegades. I remember their running back's name was Josh Ronick. Their quarterback was Kerry Joseph. We did a little breakdown on that. Then we went to commercial break. And I think it was you. You're like, Rob, we need a show.
We need a show. Yep.
And I remember he's just like, well, what are you going to call it? And that's where Chevy and Nasty came up. Everyone calls me Chevy. My last name's Chevrier. You have a little more interesting story to how you got the Nasty moniker.
Yeah, that's for another time. But I'll tell you what, though, Chev, very quickly, they gave us that show, and we had this little segment. I thought it was the worst idea in the world. So did Rob Kerr. He didn't want to do it. But you said you wanted to do this little poetry bit for the 300-pound poets. And I think it's only fair to our old Calgary listeners that are joining us tonight that we throw this in for old time's sake. So
we're going to ask our fantastic producer, Chastity, to pull up our poetry music. So, Chastity, if you could do that for us before we start reading the poem. Well, there it is, Shel.
I'm feeling already. On a fresh new platform, we're back on the air. We're the 300-pound poets, and we rhyme with flair.
We talk sports, entertainment, men's health, and world news. You get a Canadian perspective on the topics we choose.
We don't do the stats. That doesn't impress us, but we like the underdog stories of unlikely successes.
We love CFL football. To play our game takes vigor. We think our game's the best, plus our balls are bigger.
So many topics, where will our attention shift? I think we'll start in the NFL with Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift.
On the NGBN TV network, we contribute with pride. We are Chevy and Nasty, and this is The Ride. Just like riding a bike, eh, Shel?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I remember
we've got a few kinks here we can work out, but I think
I remember that first poem when I was like, hey guys, I got this great idea. What if we do a poem that summarizes the week's events from previous sports? And you guys like, yeah, sounds okay, Chef. Maybe write one and we'll do it next week. And I just pulled a crumpled out napkin.
I already wrote one. Here it is. Let's go.
Yeah, and we did it. And you know what? All these years later, no one really cares that I played football because, you know, I was a long snapper and unless you mess up, no one really knows who you are. But I still get people asking me to write 300-pound poetry. I like to say I've slimmed down since then. I'm 250 pounds, but it doesn't sound as good, 250-pound poetry. So I think we'll keep it at 300 pounds because you know what? Together, we're over 300 pounds.
Yeah, we're over 500 pounds. Maybe we're the 500-pound poets.
Oh, yes. So, Sheldon, you said we're going to start off with the NFL, the Travis Kelsey Swift effect, Mr. Swift, as some people like to call him. What do you think, Sheldon?
Well,
is this good for the NFL or not?
I think it's good for everybody. I mean, obviously, it's such a divergent fan base and it's such an unlikely couple to come along and so publicly do it, right? I think it's been good for both of their brands. It's kind of funny, though, with Taylor Swift. She's probably one of those few pop stars that is almost bigger than the NFL. Like you think of her as the kind of person that even for a Super Bowl halftime show, that maybe she's still a little bit bigger. You see people that are trying to re-spark their career a little bit or take advantage of that one hot spot in their career. She's been massive forever. But my question, what I wondered right from the start is, how big of a distraction is this going to be for the team. Because when you're in the CFL, Chev, do you remember anybody playing in Canada that had anything remotely close to this for a high-profile girlfriend?
I don't know. This would be like if maybe back in the day, Doug Flutie was going out with Celine Dion or something. I don't know. But you know, you ask if it's a distraction. It's kind of hard to see because Travis Kelsey is a character. If you follow him a little bit, him and his brother, Jason Kelsey, they got a great podcast called New Heights. And I like to listen to it once in a while. They really have a good chemistry. They talk a lot about what's happening in the game. And he shot his shot a few months ago. I was kind of listening from the beginning when he went to the Taylor Swift concert in Cincinnati, not Cincinnati, Kansas City. And I guess the story was he tried to give her a friendship bracelet or something. And this is what they do. And she refused even to talk to him. And he kind of took offense to that, only finding out later on that she doesn't talk because she does like a 3-hour show or something. But it kind of evolved from there. And, you know, he kind of, it almost seems like he forced his way in. He busted down the door, but you can't blame him, right? Like that's the celebrity equivalent of, you know, getting the cutest girl in the school to get you to go to prom with you, right? Like you don't just take one shot. You got to take a few shots because she might not notice you the first couple of times. And here they are. She shows up at a Chicago's Bears game almost a month ago now, maybe a little more than a month ago. And, you know, they snuck her in a catering box so that people wouldn't see her when she gets to the stadium. But, you know, ever since she showed up, Sheldon, they've been pretty good. They've actually been pretty good. In fact, we got some stats up here. I don't know if you want to give a gander at that.
All right. Well, yeah, let's take a look at that. So no Swift, 2-1. That's a pretty good record, but 4-0 with Swift. They are undefeated with her in attendance. Points per game, pick up a touchdown, 28.5 points a game. But the one that I really look at here is looking at Kelsey's reception yards per game, going from 46.5 to almost 110 yards. And you know what that reminds me of? And that what makes me think of is I don't care how big a star you are. If you're a guy in your 20s, what drives you to anything, any level of success? It's all about the girl, right? It's all about the girl. And you know, when you're in high school and you're playing and you just like motivated, I want to play so good because there's this girl and she doesn't really look at me, but maybe if I play really good, she's going to talk to me, right? And then as you get older, it turns into, you know, remember the first time that you played in your home city and your mom and dad are there and your brothers are there, your high school buddies are there, right? And they're, hey, I'm in the pros and they're watching you. I think it's a big motivating factor to know that he's on the world stage right now. He's been introduced to 2.5 billion other people that might not have been following his career before. I mean, I think it's a big moment for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it's it definitely there's some correlation there. I don't know if it's an app.
You didn't play games thinking, oh, I'm going to impress this girl.
You know, maybe I did, you know, but, and you're right about that. I mean, guys join the football team just to get the jacket. So the girl notices
for sure, dude.
They don't even want to play football. They just want the jacket. Right. But this weekend with her in attendance, he went off, Sheldon. He posted 179 yards, 1 touchdown on 12 receptions. This was his second best day. The Chiefs went off as well. Patrick Mahomes, he was 32 for 42 passes, 424 attempts, and 4 touchdowns and interception. It's like she is good for the Chiefs. Now the question is she good for the NFL? Like, are people getting tired of hearing about Taylor Swift? Like they cut to her before commercial, after commercial. You see her in the box. She's now looks like best friends with Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany Mahomes, who is, you know, she was the star of the Netflix quarterback series. When Taylor Swift comes to the box, she's taking second fiddle to that. Is she good for the NFL? Is this going to last, or is this going to be her next big breakup song?
Well, I think the answer is like yes to all of those, right? Like, you know, anytime you're getting involved with Taylor Swift, you're going to end up with a song about you. The question is how long it's going to be, right? But you know, I don't know. I think it's good all the way around. Like, you know me, and even in terms of, for me, a football fan, I know who Taylor Swift is. I see her videos and I see her pop up all over pop culture, but I never download any of her songs. She's not on any of my playlists. But you know what? I now feel like I can indulge that little, like that secret. And I'm not afraid to say this on the air. Well, maybe I shouldn't be saying this on the air, but I like some of her songs. And now I feel like I actually have a little bit of permission to go and listen to Taylor Swift, see what everybody's talking about. Like, I can't name you more than like 2 or 3 songs, and I don't know any of the lyrics. I'm definitely not a Swiftie. But I tell you what, I'm fascinated by somebody that's found that level of fame, that she's bigger than a Kelsey or a Mahomes around the world. Not in the sports world, but in the world in general, she's the biggest thing out there.
Well, in the wrestling world, they would call that a bump, right? Her going out with Travis Kelsey has given him a bump. Like, he was big in the football world, like everyone in football knows him. But now his Twitter, his Facebook, is like, he's huge. He's become like an international star. You know, totally. He's kind of like, you know what? He's Ken to Barbie, right? You know, everyone knows Ken, but they know him because of Barbie. Well, that's what's happening around the world with this guy. I bet I don't think he'd like that reference too much. But you know what? I don't even know if they've picked a Super Bowl halftime show. I do think that if I'm picking a Super Bowl winner this year, Taylor Swift or no Taylor Swift, the Chiefs are my favorite. They've been the most consistent in and out each week. Some of the best teams in the leagues are finding ways to lose. And, you know, I just think they've got the complete package. And yes, they got Taylor Swift in attendance at most of the games. You know, we're going to have to get out here. But Sheldon, do you think the friendship with Mrs. Mahomes is going to last?
Oh, that's the question. You know what? You know what's even funny about that? I was talking to my wife about that the other day. I remember, I think it was my first or second year with the Stampeders here in Calgary.
You got 30 seconds to make.
Oh, I got. I'll make it quick. The friendships of the wives in the stands breaks down really quickly when one of the receivers isn't catching the ball enough. And somebody made a comment. The other wife heard. Quarterback's wife heard. Next thing you know, she's climbing over 2 rows of seats to get at it, and security had to escort them off the field.
And then they had bad blood. See what I did there? I know that's a Taylor Swift lyric. Listen, Shell, Nasty, we got to take a break here. We want to thank our first segment sponsor, Dream Reach Achieve. You can be listening to us right now on the NGBN TV network. You can listen to us live on Facebook or on our YouTube page. We managed to get that one in under the wire. And leave us some comments. Wherever you find us, leave us some comments. We'll read them on the air. We'll try to respond as best we can. We're out right here on The Ride.
Are you a business owner or sales professional and want to build and maintain a peak performing premium pricing sales team? Are you and your team finding it difficult to work with clients you want to at the premium prices you deserve? The Professional Sales and Execution Certificate Program will dismiss the sales myths that have limited you and your team and stalled your complete company's growth. Learn all about our PSE secret weapons, including the 98.2 premium presentation that helps build a high-ticket repeat sales network. These absolutely dead simple secret weapons allow you and your team to be yourself and utilize extremely powerful ways to decide which clients you want to work with. If you're ready for a high energy and high power training session that will completely transform you and your team into the envy of your industry, simply click here and register and book now. Get started on your premium pricing high ticket sales execution journey now.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts, speakers, authors, and more. Streaming TV for men, created by men.
But why?
Why are we a network that inspires,
educates, entertains, celebrates, and supports
men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, simply to save men's lives?
There is an epidemic in our community,
and it's taking men from us.
I'm talking about mental health and suicide.
But we have an answer, and it's streaming, live shows, sports, concerts, and more.
In a real way for men to lock shields.
We can't wait to launch this TV network for you and with you.
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 Join our movement at NGBN.TV, coming January 2024.
Oh, and that's me.
And that's
we're
you,
back.
Sheldon.
Oh, there you go. You see, we've got. You see how hard this is. You know, everybody thinks that I can get on here and do this, and I maybe we're a little bit like Travis Kelsey though, right? You're going for something that's probably might even be out of his league, but you just got to go for it. And it's been that attitude that somehow we got Ian and NGBN.TV network to give us a chance. And our job here today, Chevy, I think, is just not to mess it up too badly. So I'm going to start off with some love for our next segment sponsor, which is We Drone Real Estate Media in Calgary, Alberta, a one-stop shop for realtors for all their photography, videography, and virtual tour needs. And with that, Chevy, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, Sheldon. Listen, I'm really happy that we're here. We're doing this. We're knocking the rust off a little bit. Maybe we got to learn the technical side of things because, I don't even know if we're live right now. I don't know if anyone's listening, but we're doing it. And actually, we know people are listening because the comments are coming in. I just haven't seen them yet. But we mentioned in the poem, we watch sports. I love watching sports. I watch all kinds. My favorite sports are football. Both NFL, CFL. I got into a little bit of the XFL last year, a little bit of USFL, more just to see the comparison between the two spring leagues or the three spring leagues, because there was a lot of chatter about CFL, XFL. We'll talk about that on another show. Love hockey. Used to love Formula One. Not too much basketball. I watch basketball or baseball. I grew up a big Expos fan. I grew up in Montreal. But the X's and O's of sports don't matter to me as much as the stories. And I always find it doesn't matter what sport you're looking at. There's so many compelling stories in sport. And this weekend, before I even knew what was going on, I came across the story of Tyson Bagent. So most people will know that Tyson was the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears this week, an undrafted free agent out of Shepherd University in West Virginia. But I didn't really know too much about his story until Sunday morning. I woke up and I saw the, I guess the trailer for a documentary, and we're going to run it right here. Chastity, can you run that documentary here?
I'll guarantee you that West Virginia University offers Tyson a full ride.
I wanted to ask you about Tyson. You guys have any conversation about him at all?
I mean, it would definitely be a great honor to get an offer from West Virginia. My mom, she's in rehab right now.
Tyson knows all too well about drugs and alcohol. I mean,
she's just trying to get better for her family.
So I came across that, Sheldon, on a friend's Facebook feed, Jason Johnson, who's former quarterback for the Edmonton Eskimos back in the day.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he's also a film producer, documentary producer. He does a lot of neat things, and he worked on this documentary, and that's where I kind of first caught my eye, right? And the story of Tyson Bagent is he's playing in West Virginia, the small town powerhouse. They won 20, I think, 18 years in a row. They won the state championship. They're in the heart of what they call the heroin highway, basically the heart of the opioid crisis, that comes down from Baltimore, Maryland, all the way into West Virginia. And, they said that the death rate is about from opioids is twice the national average, which, it's huge. Right now. I mean, I see it as a first responder. I see the opioid crisis firsthand, and it's just huge. So there's a picture of Tyson there starting with the Bears. But what I love about his story is that he never got the big ride to the big scholarship. So it turns out he never got to West Virginia. He had to make his way to a Division II school, Shepherd University. And the thing is, he lit it up in high school. He was like the Tom Brady of high school, and they still didn't take him, right?
Yeah, wow.
His mom, you know, he grew up in some tough circumstances. His mom was in rehab most of his life. Interesting dad. We'll talk about him later, but he goes to Division II, Sheldon, and he lights up. He went to, so from Martinsburg, Virginia, he set the Division II record for completions as a 5-year starter for 1,400 completions. He passed for 17,034 yards and broke the NCAA record for passing touchdowns at 159. Like, this guy was a baller, and he went undrafted to Chicago. They had all their money in Justin Fields. It's been a train wreck in Chicago this year, and Tyson Bagent gets his first start this weekend, and man, he lights it up.
Yeah, that's something else. You know, you take a look at a guy like that. He's been pedigree the whole way. So I've got to see that documentary, the full in its fullness, to understand what happened, because usually a guy coming out of a school like that is going to get a look at some Division I program, unless he just wanted to stay at home, right? But that's pretty remarkable. You look at these guys coming out of the smaller schools, playing 1AA, playing Division II, you know, the real cerebral, smart guy that can deliver the ball. They're not getting looked at in the NFL. Those are the guys we usually see come up north, right? And sometimes you find a guy that can put the game together. But, you know, this to go undrafted into the NFL and still take a chance and making the roster. Was it an injury that got him up to the roster, or was he there from day one?
Yeah, no, he was on the roster. He won the backup job, and this week he gets a start. But, you know, Sheldon, we're seeing more and more guys like this getting a shot and succeeding. You look at, you know, he's from your alma mater.
Yeah, I would say Brock Purdy.
Right?
Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant.
And I've been watching him for years, and I was really impressed with the things that he did. Iowa State would run a bit of a simpler offense. We relied on a lot on the runs. But, you know, he was used to having two really tall tight ends that were just quite dominant in the Big 12. But I watched him from his like freshman year up through his career, and he just struck me as a smart guy that grasped the game. And, you know, so, you know, I think it's always an honor to be drafted, to be Mr. Irrelevant. You know, nobody's really banking on you, but this guy banked on himself, right?
He banked on himself, Sheldon. He went to the 49ers last year. Not only, I mean, he took advantage of an injury to Jimmy Garoppolo, but then he took out Trey Lance, you know, who was the future of that franchise.
Trey Lance started the season, right? But
yeah,
by week 5.
And so Brock Purdy, you know, these guys are all in the mold of Tom Brady. I mean, let's think about it. Tom Brady, you know, he made a 20-year career out of just coming out of nowhere. He was drafted in the 7th round, late in the 7th round. He unseated Drew, my favorite quarterback at the time. Why is my brain is
Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe.
Do you know why I know that? Because on my recruiting trip to Washington State, we all met at Coach Mike Price's house, and Drew was just a senior graduating, going into the draft, and he was there at the barbecue doing everybody's steaks. So he asked me how I like my steak, cooked it up, and I was a huge Drew Bledsoe fan, right?
But Tom Brady comes in, unseats, and it seems like these guys that are hungry come in, and when that opportunity meets that preparation, they don't let go. And we're seeing it with Brock Purdy. We might see it here with Tyson Bagent. But Sheldon, I did mention that he had a colorful past. You know, I mentioned his mom was in rehab. He lived in this sort of really tough area of West Virginia. He made it out. He's doing great things in the NFL, but he has a little bit of pedigree. His dad, Travis Bagent, is like the world arm wrestling champion. I think he's won 26 world titles. And, you know, I saw this video on Saturday. I think they did the day before he got his start on Soldier Field. His dad, who has a lot of charisma, did an interview on NFL Network. I got a kick out of this. Let's take a look, and I'll just introduce you to Travis Bagent. He's a character.
So the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl rings. That pales in comparison to your 28 world championships in arm wrestling. I met you the other night, and we began talking, and you suggested maybe we should arm wrestle just to see if I can take down a 28-time world champion. What do you think?
No doubt. And I honestly expected you guys to do this on Monday. I can't believe what took you guys so long. And I've had this little set up for you since Monday here. And if you can come over here, I can give you a little demonstration.
Let's find out here. I know very little about arm wrestling. I know Brian's going to hold the mic here.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I mean,
would this be the referee spot right here? Can Ed just be the referee?
Come on, Ed. Get in there, Ed.
First of all, have you ever done this before?
No.
Perfect. I'll take over from here. I can actually keep this if you don't mind. Perfect. So we're going to have to lead my hand to the side. I'll lead my hand here to the side. It's real easy. If your hand hits that pad, you are the baddest dude in the history of the NFL Network. What usually happens is I win. What's best for you is don't fight it. All right? Everybody's good at something, and this is what I do. Ready and go. Nice. Relax there, young man. I thought for sure you'd be a lot stronger. I'll take it from here. Listen, the rest of these people, they've been calling me Travis. You can call me Daddy, young man. Yes, sir. Thanks a lot to the NFL Network. He's actually a lot stronger than I thought. He could definitely beat you.
There it is, guys. Oh, my God. And that's going to hurt tomorrow. Oh, but I swear by Saturday, I'll be ready. I know Travis will be ready too, right?
Wow. And for some of you guys in the back, if you don't believe it, you want to feel it, get on up here. It's the real deal. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey, let's go.
Oh my God, this guy's a beauty.
I love it. I love it.
That's definitely not his first time on a microphone doing that. This guy's awesome.
Oh, he was awesome. I just love how he says, you know, what you got to do is you just got to let it happen. And then he's talking on the mic, like didn't even break his voice. No breaking his voice. The other guy's giving it full tilt. I thought that was awesome. Sheldon, you ever have any crazy parents around your football career, whether in college or
you always find some crazy parents though, right? I mean, the further you go in football, it almost takes some more extreme personalities, and a lot of times it means you got a messed up dad, a messed up crazy mom, and that's the stuff that just that's what breeds football players. Because as you know, like even talking about underdog stories, right? You don't get an opportunity just because hey, he's really good, we should give him a try. You got to be persistent. You got to have that. You got to have that broken bone in your brain that makes you keep going when everybody else knows you should have stopped 2 years ago, right? It's Sheldon, when you keep going and pushing is when you get the chance. And when I see a guy like that, dude, I totally get where his son's coming from.
Yeah, no, he's that dad that I want to be. I want to be the dad that when my kids' friends walk in the room, they're like, man, dude, your dad could like kick all our dad's asses, right? Well, but I think what I got from that, Sheldon, is you said live on the air that your mom and your dad were messed up. Is that what you're snapping here on the show? Because I mean, my mom is the sweetest Italian lady in the world. My dad, God rest his soul. My dad passed a few years ago. I love him. He was well-intentioned, but my dad was a little bit, if I'll use the word offside and impulsive. You know, I remember when I got drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm coming off the practice field one day, and the president of the team comes down to me with a letter. And he's like, oh, I got a letter from your dad. I'm like, oh, no, my dad loved writing letters. Like, he wrote letters to the Montreal Gazette. He wrote letters. Like, he was a letter writer. And I was like, oh, so what did he write? He said, oh, your dad says he's starting the Jacksonville Jaguars fan club in Montreal. He asked me for a bunch of jerseys and hats. I'm like, oh, my God, Dad. And that happened a few times in my career where I just kind of was like, you know, it kind of made me cringe. Yeah. You know, there was one year I got an interception in Calgary. I think it was 2005, my first year back here. I got an interception, and the Stampeders have a stats sheet on the website, and it doesn't have my interception. So my dad's calling the web guy to try and get my interception on there. And I caught wind of this. I had to call my dad. I'm like, listen, Dad, it doesn't matter. But you know what? Parents are proud. If you're blessed to have your parents watching you play, you're very lucky. There's a lot of people out there. We've played football with a lot of guys that didn't have one or even two parents that could watch them. So crazy, like Sheldon's parents apparently, or somewhat off center like my dad, and grounded like my mom. Whatever you had watching your games, you know, you're very lucky. But no, Sheldon, I'm just kidding. Your parents weren't crazy.
Well, you know, it does remind me though, because my dad, you know, like again, you know, simple Saskatchewan farmer. I was playing right when they came up with this new system called the internet and chat forums and all that stuff. And everything was great because I was playing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and everybody in Saskatchewan, guys, if you get a chance to come and watch one CFL game live, you got to go to Regina, Saskatchewan, not just because it's fun to say Regina, but because the fans there are insane. And so every time I played, I got people from my high school and people that I know coming up in buses to come watch me play. But then I went to Calgary, the arch nemesis. And now suddenly those same people are driving to Calgary because they travel, the Rider fans, and they're like cussing me out. I'm seeing guys I used to go to high school with calling me out from the stands. Hey, you effing traitor. What do you giving me the gears? And I just look up at them and I'm going to be like, come on, guys. Like, dude, what are you guys doing here? You're on vacation? No, I live here. Well, I live and work here too, man. So the Saskatchewan Roughrider fans are amazing, but they are mean. And in the internet chat sites, I used to get blasted my first couple of years. Well, and my dad would get so upset that, yeah, he'd be writing in, he'd be calling guys at bosses at work saying, your guy's been on forum for 8 hours today saying this about my son. And yeah, he was a little extreme.
You should have just been a long snapper. No one would know who you are. But I want to transition. That was a great transition into the CFL because we've got a few minutes left in this segment. And, we said that too in the program. We love the CFL. This upcoming week is the final week of the season, but it's really meaningless. Playoff matches are set. We're looking forward to the Western semifinal, the Eastern semifinal. By the time we take the airwaves in 2 weeks, the showdowns will be set for the Eastern and Western finals. So in this semifinal,
and they're actually already set. These are almost meaningless games. This is just tweaking up for the playoffs now.
So in 2 weeks, we're going to have the Stampeders, our Calgary Stampeders, playing the British Columbia Lions. Sheldon, give me your quick breakdown in 2 minutes. What you see, what you like, what you don't like, where it's going. What's your prediction?
Well, the Stampeders have just had a dismal season. And I mean, this has been probably one of the storied franchises in the CFL since 2008, since John Huffnagel took over the program and brought in Dave Dickinson, a longtime CFL great, spent a little time in the NFL as well. But in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been losing is Leicester. We had, I don't know, one of the top all-time passing quarterbacks in the CFL starting for us. Last year, we finally had to get rid of him. So anyway, not to give you the whole history. I don't have time for that. But so we're dealing with 2 new quarterbacks running these teams. And in the CFL, it's a quarterback-driven league. I watched Jake Mayer for Calgary come in at the beginning of the season, asking about the opportunity. And his reply was, I understand the great legacy of quarterbacks that come from this program, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. And I'm like, dude, you sound like a guy that's just happy to have the jersey. Then I listened to, help me out, Vernon Adams. Vernon Adams Jr., who's coming off an injury last year and, bit of an injury-plagued season. And he came out and said, dude, I spent the entire off season working on my hips and my core. I can turn my hips faster. The ball's coming out faster. It's coming out higher. I've been working on all the chinks in my armor. I'm looking forward to the season. That was a guy that's dialed in. Long story short, in a quarterback-driven league, I'm going with the quarterback I trust, and that's Vernon Adams Jr.
Yeah, and Sheldon, the Stamps just squeaked into the playoffs. It's a rematch of last year's Western Conference semi. I don't think the Stampeders, for me, have done enough to show that they're ready to go to the next round, but they did beat the BC Lions last week in a must-win situation. If we move to the East, Sheldon, we got the Hamilton Tiger Cats versus the Montreal Alouettes. Hamilton Tiger Cats, they're hosting the Grey Cup, so they're hoping to go all the way so that they can host in their hometown. They've kind of been, one of the bridesmaids for the last number of years. I remember when we won the Grey Cup in Calgary in 2014. It was against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They lost to us. They've kind of been this middle tier, pushing the top tier, but kind of always being kept down. And this was supposed to be the year that they turned the corner, right? They signed Bo Levi Mitchell, future Hall of Fame quarterback. They signed him from Calgary. The expectations were high. Mitchell got hurt early, and they weren't sure what they had. They did well with Matthew Schultz as a backup. Bo comes back. They started coming on strong late. And then you got the Montreal Alouettes. on the other end with my old buddy Jason Moss at the helm. He's got Corey Fajardo, retread from Saskatchewan. It's going to be a tough match. We're coming up against the clock here, but if I'm going to give you my quick prediction, I think Hamilton's going to win it. I said it last year when the Stamps traded Bo Levi Mitchell. I said he's going to bring a Grey Cup to Hamilton, so I'm going to ride that horse until they're no longer in the playoffs. So I'm picking Hamilton because I think Bo Levi Mitchell is a playoff baller, and he's going to do it for them this year.
Oh man, I don't know. Well, they've got a good road record this year, but no, I think Montreal is the class. But this game's irrelevant because it's going to be Toronto the week after that anyway. But that's interesting. So you're going for the underdog on this one. They got to be massive underdog in this one.
I always pick the underdogs. I'd love to see Hamilton play Toronto in the Eastern Final, and I think that BC Winnipeg is going to be the best matchup coming out of the Wets. We'll break that out. We'll break those games down in a couple of weeks. But Sheldon, we got to go to break. We're happy you're joining us. We hope you're sticking with us here on the NGBN TV network. If you're listening on Facebook, leave some comments. If you're on YouTube or even on the network, leave some comments. And you can find us on all socials at Chevy and Nasty from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Send us a note. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We don't care. We've been coached before. It's time for us to go to break. When we get back, we're going to wrap this thing up right here on The Ride.
Are you a business owner or sales professional and want to build and maintain a peak performing premium pricing sales team? Are you and your team finding it difficult to work with clients you want to at the premium prices you deserve? The Professional Sales and Execution Certificate Program will dismiss the sales myths that have limited you and your team and stalled your complete company's growth. Learn all about our PSE secret weapons, including the 98.2 premium presentation that helps build a high-ticket repeat sales network. These absolutely dead simple secret weapons allow you and your team to be yourself and utilize extremely powerful ways to decide which clients you want to work with. If you're ready for a high-energy and high-powered training session that will completely transform you and your team into the envy of your industry, simply click here and register and book now. Get started on your premium pricing high-ticket sales execution journey now.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts, speakers, authors, and more. Streaming TV for men, created by men.
But why?
Why are we a network that inspires,
Educates, entertains, celebrates, and supports
men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, simply to save men's lives.
There is an epidemic in our community,
and it's taking men from us?
I'm talking about mental health and suicide.
But we have an answer, and it's streaming, live shows, sports, concerts, and more.
In a real way for men to lock shields.
We can't wait to launch this TV network for you and with you.
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 Join our movement at ngbn.tv, coming January 2024.
Time sure flies when you're having fun. Thanks for joining us on The Ride with Chevy and Nasty here on the NGBN TV network. Glad that you're tuning in, whether it's on Facebook, on the network page. We're getting some of the bugs out of the system, and we'll have this up and popping by the time we hit episode 2, 3, or 4. And remember, the NGBTN network will be launching live January 2024. We're going to be on Roku television, Apple, any digital web television. So we're excited that we're building this community along with the other great programs that are on, like Sports and Gibberish, Decades, the Rubio Method, AC on Sports. What a great community we have. And also a great community of sponsors with We Drone sponsoring the second segment, Dream Reach Achieve sponsoring our first segment. And if you're listening now and you'd like to sponsor us, get in on the third segment, get in on the poem. We're looking for people to help be on the team and get us where we want to be. We want this to be smooth or smoother. We want it to be good and better. And we want to take more and more people on the ride. We always say we don't want it just to be the bar stool. We want it to be the campfire, and we want all of you around our campfire. Sheldon, we talked a lot tonight about sports, and sports are fun. But we also said we're going to talk a little bit about entertainment, lifestyle, world events. You have the moniker of being nasty. You were nasty on the field. In fact, I think one of your hits started a brawl in Labor Day. Well, it was the precursor to the brawl, and we could talk about that another time.
I forgot. I was thinking about Garrett Smith, but yeah, I think I was involved in that.
You were the precursor.
That's not where I got the nasty name though. But the book on me was always like, I always joked around the guys. I always had fun when I played, but the big thing was just don't make me mad. And I got one of those tempers, I think, that I've learned to control over the years. But at that time, yeah, get a little nasty.
But you know what? That temper is good, because that temper can unlock discussion. It can unlock conversations. And so we're going to go with this next segment. We're going to call Nasty Thoughts. And maybe one day we'll have a great banner and some theme.
A little splitter with some music. Yeah, nasty.
Yeah, just something really angry, because you have a nasty thought that you'd like to share with us today.
Well, this one's not even so much a nasty thought, but you know what? You know me, I'm a bit of a political junkie as well. I follow everything, south of the border, north of the border, and I see how polarized we've been. And I don't know if it was when I was younger, I didn't realize it because I was just, happy to be alive and happy to go along. But as you get older, and you raise kids and you see how government policies and everything can affect your life. And I started really taking an interest in politics, watching the news. And I realized that there's no such thing as news anymore. Like, you hear your major network making this announcement. Biden did this, Trudeau did this, Poilievre did this. But it really is it's all just feeding to their base, and everybody tries to pick a side that they're on, wear their jersey, just like professional wrestling, right? The good guys are the good guys, the bad guys are the bad guys. And that's how we're treating each other in North America right now. But what I'm going to queue up for you here next is an interview with the Conservative Party of Canada, Pierre Poilievre. He's in the Okanagan doing an interview, getting ready for an election. And a reporter with a very liberal bias comes up to him and is asking him questions. And you could just see his mind working. He's like, dude, you're just trying to get a gotcha moment on me. And instead of being nasty and losing his temper, this is the opposite. This guy keeps his cool and he thinks his way through the interview. Some of you guys, if you watch Fox News, I think it showed up on there about a week ago, but this to me was how you handle a loaded question.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological thing.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, a lot of people
don't really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but
like who?
I don't know who, but
well, you're the one who asked the question, so yeah. You must know somebody.
Then forget that. Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense. Okay. Common sense.
Well, you must know someone. You're the one asking the question as he's munching down on an apple. I don't know, Chevy, something about that. I saw that for the first time, and I'm just like, yes, finally somebody that's not getting defensive and can think his way through a tough conversation.
And you know what? It was funny watching that. I don't know what I like better, his response or just the casual chewing of the apple.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that a lot. Again, my only experience with something like that is in sports after a loss, and they're trying to lead you down the path to blame a teammate, and you're doing everything in your power to kind of keep the blame, like, what can you do better, right? And it really seemed again that this guy was trying to lead him to first, I guess, admit that he was doing what the reporter was telling him he was doing, and he kind of fended it off the whole way. And it kind of reminds me of that old adage, telling something without telling him nothing. And he just kept putting it back to him, and I thought it was quite masterful in the way he handled it.
You don't have to answer a question if you don't accept the premise, right? Because it's clearly a setup. Like, and in sports, you got that all the time. Whether it was this reporter's had a beef with your coach, or he's got an agenda to get this guy out of town, or whatever. Because the reporters have it too, right? You weren't as conscious of it when you're playing. Maybe by the time you hit year eight, you start realizing that, geez, it's all just a big game to these guys. But, for me, I don't know. I just saw that. And I thought if we could all just hold our composure, actually look at what's being said and talk about it factually. And at the end of the day, what he said, his answer, why do you vote for him? Common sense. That's a good answer. I believe it from looking at the guy. I believe he's got common sense. I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
No, I thought he handled it well. And the one thing that, the reporter did get right is that he is speaking, about an ideological framework, because when you are in politics, you have to be. I'm a very sort of middle of the guy. I believe in I have I guess conservative fiscally, but I think I have a little bit more liberal social values. But again, you can have a spectrum of where you believe, but when you're in politics, you have to kind of preach or cater to people's needs. And the middle never gets the attention, because
but here's the problem though. Even if you are down the middle, like let's even if you are down the middle, the other side is trying to paint you in a certain corner.
Yes,
you're trying to bring these aspects out of you, like even take a look at like a Trudeau or a Biden. Well, they're probably not as far. Well, actually, no, I take that back. They're pretty, especially on the Trudeau side, pretty progressive. But I have to be careful, even when I'm getting that ear candy on my side.
Yeah,
right.
You have to.
It's like this. It's like this. He's doing it because of this. You have to ask yourself, if it's tickling my ear, am I being played? And I need to take a step back and look at the facts, right? And that's, I don't know. I think that's going to be my kind of mantra going forward into the next election cycles in the States and in Canada, to not get so caught up like I've been in the last 5-10 years, because the world has gone loony in the last 5 to 10 years.
The world has gone loony, and that's the world of politics. It's the world of sports. It's the world of entertainment. The world has gone loony, and you know what? They've gone loony in your home province, Sheldon. We're going to go back to sports now, because we talked NFL, we talked CFL, and
I thought you were going somewhere else with that, but
no. I'm going right back to Saskatchewan. Your beloved Rough Riders got a rough ride this year, and just this week, after not qualifying for the playoffs, they fired a good friend of ours, Craig Dickinson, the former head coach. There he is. Great guy. One of the best guys you'll ever meet. He was special teams coach in Calgary forever. He was my special teams coach, went on to Saskatchewan as a special teams coach, and he was my special teams coach in Saskatchewan. The players love him. He's a players coach. When Chris Jones left the Rough Rider organization for the Cleveland Browns a couple of years ago, only to resurface in Edmonton, Dickey took over. Unfortunately, they didn't get the results they would have liked. Part of that due to, I think, the injury to their quarterback, Trevor Harris, this year, but he's out. The GM and the GM just got a 3-year extension. The president is still on board. They fired the offensive coordinator last year. This year, they're firing the coach. They don't make the playoffs. Dickey's out. Sheldon, good move, bad move, and who's next?
I think there's going to be a lot of people back in Riderville and in Saskatchewan that disagree with me on this, but I watched Craig Dickinson kind of grow as a coach over the years, and you know, your first time running a team, you're going to make some mistakes. And some people have challenged some of his calls, when he's challenging, when he's not challenging, when he's going for it, when he's not. But at the end of the day, what did I say earlier? The CFL is a quarterback-driven league. And the beginning of the season, they walked through with a new offensive coordinator and Trevor Harris at the helm, taking, you know, most of the reps in the preseason. They won the first 2 preseason games. I know it's meaningless, but it meant they had a good training camp and everybody was on the same page. They go into the regular season and they're 3-1. They are flying out of the gates, and Trevor Harris gets hurt. And guess what? They didn't have a Garofalo behind him. They didn't have a Brock Purdy behind him to step in. And from the rest of the season on, I mean, it was kind of dismal. And what's the tall guy, the quarterback's name there again? The third guy they brought in.
Jake Dolegala.
Dolegala. He looked promising at the start of the year. He did some good things. He was keeping him close in games, got a couple of wins. But by the end of the year, you could just see him starting to fall apart a little bit as well. Not fully grasping, not being able to adjust to the second half of the CFL season when defenses are so dialed in and it gets so much more challenging to win. They end up losing 5 straight at the end of the year, 7 straight at the end of the year. I mean,
I was watching our good buddies on the Rider Nation podcast, Kelly Kirsch and Maz. They were losing their minds week in, week out.
But you don't have a quarterback, and you can't put that on the coach.
Well, but they did, and they got rid of him. So he's gone. He's packed his bags. If I know Dickie, he's gone to Montana. He's snowboarding. He's chilling. He's going to resurface in the CFL. He's one of the best coaches in the CFL. He's going to be all right. Who is taking the reins for Riderville? We don't have much time left, so we got 4 or 5 candidates. Let's see that picture up there. We got Jordan McKasick, offensive coordinator out in BC. We got Mark Killam, special teams coach, assistant head coach at Calgary. We're looking at Scott Milanovich in Toronto, and Corey Mace. He's kind of cut off there, but Corey Mace is also in Toronto. These are all the names that have been surfacing. Some people have said Kent Austin, but I don't think so. Sheldon,
you take this one. You take this one. You take this one. Who do you think?
Well,
who's the right guy for this job? Considering that the dysfunctional front office is still together, who's the next coach to take this job?
What's crazy, Sheldon, is 2 of these coaches. So 2 of these coaches were video assistants when I started playing with the Stampeders. Well, one was in Edmonton in 2003. Jordan McKasick, he was a video assistant. Mark Killam was a strength coach when I started with the Stampeders, and Corey Mace was a teammate. Now, I love all these guys. But I think the front runner for me is going to be Scott Milanovich. Not that Corey isn't qualified. I think, he's doing a fantastic job in Toronto, but I think a defensive coach, it doesn't always work in the CFL. It's a quarterback driven league. You need someone that can talk the same language as your quarterback. And, I don't think that a defensive coach is there yet. I love Mark Killam. He's been in the name for a lot of head coach jobs. The reason I don't think he's going to get it is because they just went away from a special teams coach. And I think they just don't trust that as a move. Jordan, I think he's young. I think he's future. I don't think he's now.
Brilliant.
Scott Milanovich is the guy. They've got Trevor Harris coming back next year. They got Jake Dolegala, who's done a pretty good job for them. They're going to put a quarterback coach there. They're going to give him someone to work with, and he's going to weed through who's the guy that's going to lead them to the future, the young guy or the old guy coming back. So my take is it's going to be Scott Milanovich taking over the Rough Riders job next year.
Well, you know what? I think we're going to have to leave it at that. I agree with you, Chevy. I think it will be Milanovich if Milanovich is willing to go there, but that is a tough organization to play and win in, because the second things go bad, the whole province turns on you. But
hey, Sheldon, before we get going, I'm going to read a couple of comments. We had Brad Fair saying Chiefs suck, and he's all for the Raiders. They got beat by a D2 quarterback. Brad, come on, man. Great job by Bruno Lindia. Kurt Panio. He says that Taylor is dating the Travis Kelsey just so she can write a new breakup song. And I think we're being listened to by Chris Rubio in Idaho. We have a lot of people listening tonight. So thanks for all your comments. Thanks for joining us. What's that?
You named 5.
Oh, we got a few others. Your in-laws are listening, left a comment. I'm kind of just scrolling through, but we're going to be here in a couple of weeks back on the NGBN.TV network. We're going to get that Facebook Live. We're going to get that YouTube Live. In the meantime, send us a note, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Chevy and Nasty. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. We don't care. We got thick skin. We've done it for years in the pros. We want to become pros at this. We want to become better. We're glad that you join us each week. We want to thank AC for having us on his show, Sports and Gibberish, Decades, the whole NGBN TV lineup. If you can't find us now and you didn't hear us live, go download these shows. There's some great content. Go download ours tomorrow. And we can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks right here on The Ride.